So when a phone is called a flagship killer, naturally the expectations go high up. And finally we are getting the OnePlus One in India. This is the phone that the company itself is calling the 2014 flagship killer. So what we're going to now is look at this phone and find out if it actually has those killer features. So let's talk about the build and design first. The OnePlus One falls in the phablet category. With the 5.5-inch screen, it is of course a big phone. Then again, it's got 8.9mm thickness, which on paper feels quite thick, but to be honest, this phone doesn't really feel as thick as many others. In fact, the Oppo Find 7 is somewhat similar to this, but it feels much more bulkier than this phone. Also, it's got 162 grams as its weight. The flagship feature about this phone though is that it's got the Sandstone back on the 64GB version. This is of course a plastic back with a sandstone finish to it, but what this does is it gives a very new feel to the phone. This sandstone back is a very new feel, and it makes the phone feel very premium. Another thing I really like about this is the metal rim around the side of the phone, which is also something that adds to the premium value of the phone. So I don't really have a problem with the build and design of this phone. We've read so many reviews about the OnePlus One that our expectations from this phone were very high. And to be honest, this phone does live up to that. But on the other hand, the company has had to cut a few corners in the sense that the display is a little dull compared to other 5.5-inch Full HD displays. The performance is right up there with other flagships. And considering the price, which is around 24,000 rupees in India, this phone would actually have only one competitor in the Xiaomi Mi 4. That is when that phone is launched. The call quality on the OnePlus One is also a little problematic because the in-call volume is quite low, which could be an issue for somebody. So the fact that this phone runs on CyanogenMod 11S is one very important thing about it. The reason being, CyanogenMod 11S is a fork of Android, which means that this phone comes pre-rooted out of the box. You can't say this for any other phone in the market. And a pre-rooted phone automatically becomes a power user's dream, especially when it's a flagship type phone priced at Rs 24,000. But having CyanogenMod does have some trade-offs. While on the one hand, the fork offers some very nice features of its own. It's got a very good camera app, it's got various features on the camera app. It gives you a lot of admin privileges, root user privileges, which you won't get in any other phone. On the other hand, if you're not a power user, then the instability of CyanogenMod will be a problem for you. For example, this phone often we found some ghost touches, which means that you touch the screen but nothing happens. That is actually not something that the processor is doing. That's not a hardware fault, that's a software fault. OnePlus One had fixed this once with an OTA update, but it doesn't seem to have happened. So that is the trade-off that you get when you go with CyanogenMod. So talking about the camera now. This phone has got a 13-megapixel rear camera and a 5-megapixel front camera. To be honest, this is the first real weakness of the OnePlus One. The 13-megapixel camera is not as good as you can expect from a camera in this range. The images often are washed out, undersaturated, which is not something you would want from this. On the other hand, the front camera is a wide-angle camera. Who would have known that a phablet would turn out to be a selfie phone? But this 5-megapixel front camera takes wide-angle shots of you and your friends, which is something I'm sure many of you would want. So the battery on the OnePlus One is a 3100 mAh battery, which would last you almost your entire day with 20 to 30% of battery to go, which is quite good, especially for a phablet. But let me tell you that both the Note 4 and the LG G3, which have similar screens, in fact Quad HD screens for that matter, give you a better battery life. That said, this is not bad battery life. So who would actually buy the OnePlus One? It's very hard to overlook the price of this phone. The company has said it will price it below 24,000, which automatically gives it very good value. But that said, if you're not a power user, you will have to deal with the instability of the CyanogenMod and comparatively lackluster camera. So if you're okay with these things, then this is probably the best phone you can buy in the market before the Xiaomi Mi 4 is launched.